Think the market's rigged? Well, I'll tell you what's rigged. In this video, I'm going to break down what the HE double hockey sticks is not just going on in the stock and bond market right now, but we'll talk Fed and we'll talk a lot of the other stuff going on because there's a lot going on. The first thing, obviously, we have to cover is this. This is a disaster. If you know what this chart is, well, let me put it this way. Let's say you're a guy whose name we won't mention. We'll say that person's name is Ackman. And that person goes short the treasury bond market right about here where this green line is, okay? So in order to go short the bond market, you actually want this line to go up because this is a chart of yields. Just know, up means you're making money on this case, okay? So you go short here, and all of a sudden the market's not working out for you. So what do? You really start going on social media around the last few weeks of August, and you start pumping this idea that, you know what, rates are going to have to go, quote, well above 5%. They're going to smoke through 5%. I want you to keep that in mind now, okay? Well above 5%. That's a very important line, okay? Rates are going to go well above 5%. There's so much inflation that's going to happen from the wars, and everything is so horrible in the economy. We've had so much inflation. Now we're going to have even more. Rates are going to skyrocket. Now, this Schmackman has a lot of clout on social media, but not just on social media. Most importantly, amongst institutional investors. Those are hedge funds, pension funds, trading firms, firms that are like, okay, we know market manipulation is illegal. Like, we can't all do the same thing and coordinate because we would be manipulating the market. But if we all happen to have the same opinion that we're talking about on social media, then maybe that's okay. That's basically kind of how it works, okay? Somebody has an idea on social media. They have a history of kind of being the person to follow. And then what happens? That amplifies. When's the last time this Schmackman did this? Well, how about COVID? In the depths of COVID, you have a bunch of long positions, but then you buy a bunch of weekly puts or really short-term puts. We don't know how short-term, but very short-term puts. Maybe $20, $30 million of short-term puts. You know you got a CNBC interview coming out, and so you go on that CNBC interview, and what do? You smash the economy to smithereens by talking about how during COVID, at peak fear, and you're an expert, what should the entire market do? Everyone, shut everything down for 30 days. Sure. Well, what are you going to do when you shut manufacturing and businesses and everything down for 30 days? You literally take a third of company profits, earnings, away. You remove that, and then you create longer term damage as well, right? So you know the likelihood is if people resonated with your opinion, stocks would plummet in the short term. That would give you good profit on those short-term options, which you could turn 20, 40, 50 million dollars into $1 billion, roughly what happened with Schmackman, roughly, okay? We're rounding a little bit here for the purposes of brevity. And then you could use that to buy the dip when prices are low, and then you make money both ways. You make money on the way down, you make money on the way out. Now, who makes the most money? Well, the person everyone's following. And in this case, it's Bill Ackman, Schmackman. Everybody knows, okay? So, because of that reputation, people are like, damn, that was kind of messed up, but it was also kind of shrewd. See, we don't want to say that's illegal. It's not illegal to have an opinion, right? Like, I could sit here and go, I think treasuries are a great thing to buy because I think as the inflation that we're seeing, the rate of inflation falls, I think bonds will cap out somewhere and then they will start skyrocketing. I obviously can't make that guarantee, but that's my belief, right? I think longer term inflation, it'll take more time, it'll take patience to come down, but it'll roll over. That's because every single day, almost every day, I'm studying company earnings calls, especially with our course members, and we're like, man, all of these companies are like, we had a lot of inflation, but now we're not seeing new inflation or we're raising prices 1% to 2%. Look at some of the staples, whether it's Target, Walmart, Pepsi. Look at the autos. Well, that's like pure price reductions. You just have to look at Tesla do that. Obviously, autos are very cyclical. When rates go up, car prices go down. And so this latest surge is one of the reasons probably Elon Musk is so depressed, is because he's reading all of the echo chamber stuff on Twitter. I highly believe that. He's reading the echo chamber stuff on Twitter, that yields are going to keep going up, 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 up. Bill Ackman is somebody people respect. And so you even get people like Elon Musk who go, oh man, this is depressing. That means we're going to have to cut prices even more. I personally think Elon Musk should have a formula where he's like, look, for every, 50 basis points that rates go up, prices come down minus $1,500, right? And so then it's formulaic. Then you tell buyers, hey, look, if rates go up another 50, we're going to drop the price $1,500. Rates went up 5%. Guess what? We drop prices 15 grand. Okay. You have a formula. Now you're transparent to your investors and your customers. But, you know, we generally don't get the most ideal communication at Tesla. That doesn't remove me as an investor from Tesla. I just know that. And then you buckle up because you know you're going in for volatility because, you know, communication is designed to help smooth problems over. Problems will always occur at companies. That's very normal. Communication is the solution to everything. When people go dark, it's scary. Scary times. Anyway, so Bill Ackman, what does he do? So Bill Ackman over here says, you know what? I think we can squeeze this bond market a little bit more. In other words, we're going to short the bond market. Short the bond market, the line goes up. Great. So you short the bond market over here. Line goes up, you start profiting, right? But at first it goes down. So then you circulate on Twitter your thesis about how everything's going to hell and you're going to blow through 5%. Okay, we know that. Then what do you do right here? Right before yields get to 5%. All right, we've covered our position. We are no longer short. We are now long bonds. And then you make money when this line goes down. The line is confusing because it's upside down because they're yields. But the point is, Bill Ackman basically perfectly played this, okay? Created the narrative, made sure to benefit when this line goes up. Says this line's going to go well past 5%, gets to 5%, dumps out, okay? That is very normal. This is the same thing that happens with oil all the time. And I want you to know this, when companies have price targets, it's all BS. Because what they're really most of the time doing, and I can't say that as with certainty, I want to be clear. A lot of this, everything I'm saying, I just want you to know, it's my opinion, okay? Some of the historical contents, I'm really rough around the edges just to keep this nice and simple and smooth. But I'm trying to teach and provide lessons here. When somebody says, look, I think oil's going to 150, they're probably going to dump their long bets on oil when it gets to like 125. Okay, because everybody else is just going to front run them as it gets close to 150, and then by the nature of that, it'll never get to 150. It's the same thing here, okay? You go, we're going to blow past 5%, and then what happens? As soon as you get close to 5%, people start wondering, like, are we really going to blow past it? And then you're one of the first people out, and then once you're one of the first people out, what happens? Oh, wow, the 10-year treasury down to 4.84%. It's somewhat, dare I say, cunning, okay? Like, cunning, the definition of it is here, having or showing skill in achieving one's ends by deceit or evasion, being artful, being crafty. I don't think Bill Ackman is purposefully deceitful, but let's just say, do we really think that he wanted or thought everything was going to lock down for 30 days? No, and I don't think he believed that either. So that is somewhat deceitful when you're like, oh yeah, we should do this. You know that's not going to happen. So you place bets that things are going to move towards that direction, and then you bail on them before you ever get there because you know that end goal, that end reality is probably quite unlikely. I feel like it's similar here. The end goal of blowing past, well past 5% on the 10-year treasury, I don't think is extremely likely, and I don't think that Bill Ackman thinks it's extremely likely either. Maybe 5.25%, but do we think it's going to go to 6 or 7% the way some of the social media talk is framed? No, of course not. So then you kind of evade that reality. I think that's the better way to put it, right? You evade the truth, which is, I don't really think it's gonna blow past 5, and I'm a cover when I get close to 5, but I'm gonna say that I think it's gonna blow past, because theoretically it could, so therefore I'm not lying, and then you cover before when you make your tendies. That's cunning. That is, like, in my opinion, the definition of cunning. Again, I'm not here to say anybody's doing anything illegal or whatever. I'm just saying it's cunning, okay? Now, what does it mean for us? Well, as an individual investor, it's so important to remember that we are the daily victims of these sort of bets. I'm taking a lot of series and FINRA and SEC exams, and in my opinion, what I'm learning about the institutions is when you peel the curtain back a little bit, everybody's a human, everybody's just trying to do the best thing they can for themselves. And that's important to remember, right? You peel back the curtain, it's like, oh, well, you know what? That makes sense. Bill Ackman is doing what is best for his fund. He's going to play his clout, and he's going to play the market with that. Is that market manipulation? It's debatable. Anyway, point is, we as individual investors have to see through this volatility. And it's very, very difficult because we're like, crap, you know, we see treasury yields skyrocket like this, and people are asking me, Kevin, they're like, hey, what does this mean for inflation? Does this mean markets all of a sudden think that inflation is going to be a lot higher? Are we wrong about positioning for an environment when inflation is going to be lower? You know, is inflation all of a sudden taking off? Are we missing something? You know, when we look at the 5-year break-even inflation chart, it's all skyrocketed following Bill Ackman's bet over here on the right. Even the inflation expectations are up. Does this mean inflation is back? Which, if inflation is back, some of the long investments that you might be making for when interest rates come down, Enphase, Tesla, some of the cyclicals, right? These are going to be your manufacturers, your consumer spend stocks. If inflation comes back up, those are just going to keep getting screwed. And that's problematic because you don't want that. But when you actually look at the underlying of inflation, what do we see? Copper prices coming way down. We're not as low as where we were. We might never be that low again, right? And that's important to remember is we've had a lot of inflation, at least 18% inflation. And consider for a moment what that means. If previously we were trading at about $6,200 for copper, let's go 6,200 times 1.18. You should be at about $7,300. So to normalize back to an inflation-adjusted level, we're getting close. You know, copper should probably go down about 7,948, probably about another 8%, and then we're there. We're back at an inflation-adjusted level, that 18%. Again, not back to these low levels, but the point is copper is way off its highs. Why? Because production is slowing. The cyclicals, the manufacturing, these things are slowing. Golly, imagine if it weren't for the CHIPS Act or some of the Inflation Reduction Act stimulus packages for electric vehicles or solar panels or manufacturing. These sectors would be even more in the toilet than they already are. They're already in the toilet. They'd be even more in the toilet. Now, all of that investment that's coming via the stimulus checks, and we could debate the politics of that separately, right? Whether we agree or disagree with that. The reality is the stimulus checks are going to chips, to manufacturing, to electric vehicles, to solar. Whether you hate those things or not, that is where the stimulus checks are going, okay? Those will likely pay massive dividends in the future. We can't guarantee that. I hold bullish positions in these. I have to be transparent about that. I'm not short the market. You know, so I could be equally biased like Bill Schmackman, and that's fair. But I think it's important for all of us individually to say, okay, break-evens exploded. Treasury yields skyrocketed. Did the inflation narrative break? The answer, in my opinion, is no. The inflation narrative didn't break. Inflation was very high. Now it is growing much slower. Nothing has changed in that reality. The only thing that's changed is you've got geopolitical turmoil with Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, that has led to this idea that, oh my gosh, well, when Russia invaded Ukraine, wheat prices skyrocketed, and that led to supply chain challenges for automotives and other aspects, and that led to more inflation. True. So what a perfect narrative to hit your bet on and make everybody think that inflation is really, really bad and treasury yields have a lot more work to do. You make your bet. As soon as you play your game, your cunning game, you cut and you're out and you make your money. Great. You did what you needed to do for your investors. Did that change the narrative that we talk about here? No. Now, is this me putting on rose-colored glasses? No, not at all. If anything, I think I'm putting on glasses and it's like, oh, that's an ugly reality. Ooh, I don't like the look of that, because it feels manipulative, right? It makes us as humans and individuals feel somewhat powerless to these crazy fluctuations that happen in the stock market. And that's quite frankly the reality, is we don't have control over this insanity. Now, it's also important to remember, though, that Mohamed El-Erian, I think he made a great point. He talks about in the Fed's latest financial stability report released Friday that treasury market liquidity is really, really important for the financial system. And we keep taking on more debt as a country. So we need people to buy treasuries. If people are manipulating the treasury market and all of a sudden people stop buying treasuries because they think the value of them are going to keep going down, the government can't fund. The government can't pay its bills. This is bad. Like the debt or not, again, I think fiat's all garbage. It's all going to blow up at some point in the future. I don't think it'll be in our lifetimes. So right now we have the rules of our game. Okay, this is the game we play by. We deal with paper money. Yes. Is it bullshit? Yes, yes, yes. It's all bullshit. Okay, we get it. They could print this stuff all day long. But the point is, and yes, the debt is unsustainable and it's way too high. Is it a problem? Yes. Are we going to fix it anytime soon? No. So when we consider these realities, the government's going to have to keep borrowing money. Well, in order to keep borrowing money, you have to have a functioning treasury market. And so Mohammed here is making the argument, we have to get back to like a normal market. You're in a position where the Federal Reserve is dumping treasury bonds onto the market. If everybody tomorrow said, screw this, I ain't touching treasuries because the Fed is dumping them all onto the market, their values are just going to go down. If people start not believing in the long-term value of these anymore, then interest rates will skyrocket to 10% and the whole system will collapse. So there's a balance here. There's a balance. It's the same thing as the balance that you're seeing in Israel. There's this belief that Israel, and when the war started, this was very, very commonly believed that Israel was going to invade. And then there were debates about how long this invasion would be. You know, some parts might be blitzkrieg style. Some parts might be long incursion. Now, I've been saying that hopefully it goes fast, because the faster Israel can control what they need to or satisfy their mission, the less innocent lives are lost. That's all I care about right now, is innocent Israeli lives and innocent civilians inside of Palestine. These countries are not the problem. The problem is Israel versus Hamas, terrorist groups and cells within Palestine. If those terrorist groups are not present and Israel walks in to no resistance, people stop dying. I'm tired of being on Telegram and seeing dead or dismembered children every freaking day. It's horrible. It's not just children, though. It's men, it's women, it's adults, it's grandparents, it's cousins, it's uncles. It's disgusting. Like, it is so humanly wrong. Now, obviously, it's so wrong for Hamas to do what they did. But my point is, all of this, in my opinion, needs to chill. And we have to figure this out. You know what we need? We need like a Treaty of Westphalia. Okay, this is when the Holy Roman Empire and the French, they were slaying each other for 30 years. The Treaty of Westphalia ended the 30 Years' War. And that's interesting to some extent because I was born in Westphalia. But anyway, so you look at the Treaty of Westphalia, which was signed in Osnabrück and Münster. These the two parts of it, and together it was considered the Peace of Westphalia. This was 30 years of this sort of cultural and religious battling that ended finally. And it's very similar to what's going on in the Middle East now. It's cultural, it's land, it's religious, and it's terrible, and it's end. Now, the good news is you are seeing some of the reins get pulled in a little bit on how aggressive Israel will be or continue to be with their ground incursion. Now Israel is pointing out that, well, if we're too aggressive, Hezbollah is going to attack us more from the north. That's via Lebanon. Or, well, if we're too aggressive, we might lose hostages, and Hamas is starting to release hostages. Maybe we can get them to do more of that. And, well, we don't want to see more Israeli soldiers die. You know why this is happening? You want to know the truth of why this is happening? I'll be very, very clear with you. There is one massive reason this is happening. the United States. Now, you might be disillusioned with the White House and our government, who's really running it. You know, you might be disillusioned with Trump. Politics sucks. But the reality is, as broken as our country is, this is still the best frickin' country in the world. And you know what? America, the United States, realizes that the benefit of an all-out ground incursion in Palestine is not a good idea in the Gaza Strip, because Israel's not going to be the new government in that region. Muslims and individuals who are, racially Arabic, they are never going to be governed by Israel. It's never going to work. So I think you have the United States, and this is my speculation. Look, we will fund your military. We will fund your bombs. We will fund your Iron Dome, Israel. But you need to chill. You need to let aid in from the south. You don't need to invade. Yes, we are going to help you get the hostages. But at the same time, we also need to try to negotiate with the terrorists. Nobody's going to say that publicly, but I believe that's exactly what's happening. But it will never be made public, because that would be disgusting. Oh, no. The public stance is we don't negotiate with terrorists. Come on. They're going to take every possible tool that they can to make sure that innocent lives are spared. And that's my goal. That's my hope, at least. Or I shouldn't say my goal. I mean, I'm not involved in it, but that's the goal I believe America has. So, what does that mean? It actually goes back to the beginning of the video, where we're talking about, look, we don't have control about all of this insane volatility. What we have control over is our own daily lives. People are always like, Kevin, how am I supposed to feel okay working for, X dollars per day when I lost 3 or 4 times that in the stock market in a single day? And they go, you have to separate yourself from that. You have to, every single day when other people are getting sad and depressed, you have to put one foot in front of the other and keep going. It's really hard. You have to, do you work less hard because your stocks are going up? No, just keep working. Ignore the stock market volatility. Now, if you want to diversify, I'm a big fan of you considering HouseHack. Go check out HouseHack, now accepting investments from non-accredited investors at househack.com. Read the offering circular, watch the video, all that good stuff. But look at this. I actually think we have a massive problem going on in our society. Alaska air pilot arrested for trying to turn off the plane engines mid-flight. This was a pilot who was not one of the 2 pilots flying the plane, but they were in the jump seat. Apparently, they reached over and tried to turn off the plane engines while they were mid-flight yesterday, Sunday. And the pilots probably beat the crap out of him and subdued him. Thankfully, and nobody was hurt other than that individual. But you know what's going on in America right now? A depression epidemic. Finances are tough. Inflation is high. Relationships are skewed by social media. Every chick on social media has the beautify filter on, basically. Okay? It is so impossible not to go on social media and feel like a loser. Everybody else is doing better, but I'll tell you, every single person, no matter who you are, has problems and challenges and has feelings. Even Elon Musk, and we know that. And I bag on Elon Musk too. And I'm not trying to kick somebody when they're down. I'm trying to send a message and speak on behalf of the Tesla employees who are reaching out to me going, Kevin, this makes us feel like trash. We need better leadership, okay? That's different, right? Me bagging on the Tesla leadership is basically trying to be somewhat of, with the small voice that I have, an activist of Tesla, get your act together. Get it together. Properly communicate to the expectations that people should have to the community. All the Tesla bulls who are mad at me, they're like, well, Kevin, why don't you just sell? You're just a flip-flopper. And I'm like, that's not true. I mean, I do flip-flop. I'm actually wearing flip-flops right now. So, yeah, I change my mind when there's a better option. I'm not flipping on Tesla. If anything, I'm like, hey, we should be buying more Tesla. But the leadership creates problems in the short term. People are like, come on, Kevin, why be upset? This is a buy the dip opportunity. Because you lose the ability to attract employees. Even if you lose the next 5 best engineers because the CEO is a knucklehead, and maybe those 5 engineers are gay, or they're lesbian, or they're trans, or they're whatever. They have certain beliefs that don't align with Elon Musk's belief system. And now all of a sudden, because of their personal beliefs, Tesla doesn't get that talent. Because of the stock volatility or the leadership at the company or the lack of communication and clarity at the company, then everyone net loses. The executives lose, the shareholders lose, the customers lose. Everyone net loses from the loss of that talent that goes somewhere else. That is stupid. That's why I think when Tesla is asked, hey, how many Cybertrucks are you going to deliver this year? And Elon Musk punts the question. Yes, I know other companies punt the question too. But why aren't we just blunt? Like, let's be blunt. Look, hey, we're going to have a delivery event. We hope we can deliver maybe 10, a few dozen Cybertrucks, and we're going to ramp from there. It's going to take time, and as we've learned at Tesla, things take a little longer. But we think this is a revolutionary car that in the long term will be the best-selling vehicle in the world. Whatever, you could say that, right? But be honest about the upfront. People are like, oh, Kevin, Elon, he sounded really honest. Really? Does it sound really honest to dodge questions about what's happening in the near term? Does it sound really honest to tell the Mexican government, hey, you know what, we're going to build a gigafactory here, and then on the earnings call say, by the way, we're going to slow walk this because we're uncertain about the economy? What do you think that does for every other freaking country around the world? Elon visited Taiwan and India and all of these other countries, suggesting maybe we'll build a factory here. It's almost like it's like an ego trip. Oh yeah, everybody lay out the red carpet for me. I might build a factory here. That's great when you actually do it. But then when you say I'm going to build a factory in Mexico, and then you tell the world on an earnings call you're going to slow walk it, what are you doing? You're telling all those other countries, maybe it's good we're not doing business with him right now. We'll get him when the market's good, but he doesn't deserve our support when the economy's bad. I don't know, man. Again, I think there is depression everywhere. One of the reasons, though, we do have more depression truly is social media, in my opinion. I think shorts make everybody's lives seem so perfect. It's very dangerous. I think the beautify stuff that we see with women or people of the opposite sexes, bad. People only show good stuff generally on social media. It's not good. And when you get on Twitter, it's a cesspool. It's almost all negative. Sorry, I have a hard time going on Twitter and not feeling like the world is about to end. So I like to try to be a voice of reason. People are like, but Kevin, you should be posting on all platforms. You know what? Maybe the only platform I belong on is YouTube. And quite frankly, I'm okay with that because I love it here. I get to share my perspective and hopefully it helps you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.